Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another good one for you. Today, we're actually connecting with Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas was introduced to me by the folks over at Carbon TV, so that's a fun little connection. But beyond that, Dave is the host of BowHunter Planet. Check them out on Carbon TV. He does a lot of good work, especially if you're into archery. That being said, he's got some amazing stories for us today, kind of rapid fire a couple at us, but it was a lot of fun and I laughed really hard. So thank you, Dave, again for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. To you listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Let's just go ahead and jump this thing off and let Dave tell you some of his stories. Thank you. All right, Dave, welcome to the Hunting Stories podcast, brother. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Oh, man, I'm glad to have you here. We're going to dive into the story pretty quick here. I want you to introduce yourself, but I'm wasting this gentleman's time here. I forgot to hit record, so we just chatted for like 10 minutes, and I was like, oh, shit. So sorry about that, Dave. So we'll just jump into things. No pleasantries. We've already done problem. That. We know that we like each other. We'll just move on. Introduce yourself, please, sir.
So Dave Thomas, BowHunter Planet. And this my story actually goes around the beginning of BowHunter Planet either way. So we'll talk about like that. So I had in 2007 and before 2007 I've always been really big into bow hunting. My family got me into it in the 90s. My brother would go hunting with his friends and I would literally, be so excited waiting to hear if he got something or didn't get something. And I remember those feelings and shooting my bow. I had a Browning Spike Buck 1. I actually ended up reacquiring that bow just because of that memory. I wanted to have it again. So I have it still. It's like a wooden bow. Just awesome. A great product for back then for kids,
That's amazing. What's funny about that, Dave, is I always ask every bow hunter, like, it was my first bow, I got my first kill. I always ask, do you still have that bow? Most people either do or pass it to someone who still has it. But it's awesome that you went back and found one because it meant a lot to you. Because I think that's important. I have my first bow. It's sitting under a bed somewhere in Colorado right now. I got to get back to it.
I don't remember the second bow. I think it was another Browning, but it was like a longer one. I don't remember that one. But my first deer I shot was with a Dart and Viper, and I had lost that bow, but then I went and reacquired the bow, and I have that bow too, which was cool. And I actually thought about trying to redo that one, start over, and see where we go. See where it goes from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically I had a lot of background in this. And then when I hit 2007, I got into this like fish keeping. I don't know what you want to call it. People call it reefers, like fish keeping. It's like saltwater fish tanks. And I got on this forum and I remember trying to sell my own fish food. It was something stupid, right? I don't know. People, you come up with dumb things to do in life. And I'm trying to sell this fish food, and the guys are like, you can't sell this here. You're not a company. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to sell a couple of these to see if they even work, if people like them. And they gave me a hard time, and I was so mad about it that I told my buddy Tim. I said, Tim and I went to college together at Central Michigan, and I said we should create our own forum and we do what we want on these forums. None of these people, Big Brother, looking over me and telling me what I can and can't do, right? And so that was where the whole start of BowHunter Planet came from. And so that dwarfed into us doing like a poop waste removal business to make money to pay for it. So we pick up dog poop to pay for it. And anyway, so that leads into the story because it basically, I needed this like first push into once we started going. So we got this thing going in September 15th, 2009. Okay. And I started bringing in family members as fast as I could. Like anybody I knew who hunted, I was like, dude, I need your help. I want to film these hunts. So people like right now, when you think about like the hunting public, great guys, I was doing that back in 2009, but I just wasn't doing it like they do it. Like, well, they do it very well. Like we were just doing it was like half-assed, it wasn't like that, but we always hunted state land our whole lives. And so we started on state land. We went out there as me and my cousin, Brian, and we go out to this lot. You walk back like 1.5 miles into this. It'd be like any sort of public ground, I guess, for anybody in any state, realistically. But Michigan's different. It's a lot of flat land, a lot of woods, a lot of trees, and very few clearings. So we get back in the state land. We had already put up stands like maybe a couple months before, and I had just gotten, I don't even know what bow I had because I didn't get the shot here. So So we get back into this field. I get into it's like early morning, and we had driven. It takes hours, hour and a half to get to this place in the morning, 2 hours in the morning. And so I get up in this tree. He gets in his tree. I got this camera because I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to film our hunts. I mean, this is all going to be part of this community of BowHunter Planet. And so I get the camera. I'm looking around. I remember standing looking around, and I was like, it was freezing, and I was looking around. And there's a little field, like just a tiny field, and the fields connect us to where we are. So I can see he's in the edge of that field, and I'm, at my field. It's like an L, and
Got it.
probably like 300 yards, 300 yards apart, maybe four. And I look up and I see a deer in the field, and I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm like, and I see him because I can actually see him because I realize that he's only in the field. He's in the edge of that field, like 10 yards in, but I can see him clear as day. And then all of a sudden I see him starting to draw his bow. I'm like, oh, here we go, baby. So I
Front
got
row
the camera. I got the camera on this, and you see him draw, and you see him shoot this deer. The deer gets hit, and the deer runs, and it takes off, and I'm like ecstatic, right? Because I'm like, this is unbelievable. I
Yeah.
randomly looked up just to see what's going on, and I see this deer, and I look up, and I see him, and I get the camera on it at this minute, and also I see him drawing his bow. I'm like, no way, no way, And then
Yeah.
sure enough, he hits this deer, takes off. And I can see him. He sees me at this point, and he's like doing one of these, in the tree all the way across
Those
the
big arm
field.
pumps. Yeah.
Yeah, the big arm pumps. And he so he gets down, we get down, and I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm like, we just started this website, and you got a deer already. This is unbelievable. This is like the best thing that could have happened. So then
And
we
you got
follow
it
the
on
deer,
footage too. What are
all
the
the
odds of that?
footage. It's the first one of the first videos we ever did. You can see that footage in it. It's so funny. Like just looking back on it, and the memory of him holding that deer there with the leaves falling. It was just such a beautiful memory, and him talking to the camera. And I remember thinking, like, I can't believe we got this done. Like this was crazy. Like state land, it doesn't usually happen like that. It's usually like 3 or 4 days of grunt work, trying to get a deer to come in. I'm talking like a spike. I'm not even talking like a big buck here. This is like I think the biggest buck I've ever seen on that lot was probably an 8 point that was, I mean, year and a half, 8 point, like something
Yeah.
real young,
Yeah. Something that maybe in a few years would be impressive, but there's so few and
Yeah.
far between. You're going to harvest it that year.
Yeah. That's my first mini story. I got a lot of mini stories today because I don't have like a
Perfect.
long one necessarily, but I do have a lot of minis that make up a lot of really important memories for me. The next one was Northern Michigan. I was hunting on some private land with my buddy Ron, and we were filming for the website. So at one point we had 2 hunting shows. We had Bone Driven and Hunt Series, which we don't really have those anymore. They're kind of discontinued just because of, to be honest, it's more of a funding thing because at a certain point, companies couldn't afford to really do that anymore, like give bows to all these hunters, and it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of
Yeah.
money, and if it's not TV, they weren't really doing it at the time. So anyway, I'm hunting with Ron. He's shooting a Struther bow. Struther had sponsored the show at this point, and so we're sitting there, and I'm not exaggerating. This beautiful buck starts walking right at us. I'm like, no way. And I'm filming it on a DSLR too, so the quality is really nice. And I'm sitting there filming this, and this buck comes in, and he just plugs this deer. I'm talking like heart shot, like 15 yards, like unbelievable shot. But the best part was, so the deer runs, and I'm on the tree, and I'm like kind of going around this tree, and we're sitting like this, we're real close to each other. Like I don't know, if we're probably like an L. Yeah, we're like an L. We're like this.
Gotcha.
So
90-degree angle, back to back on a tree or something like that.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I turn the camera, and I turn it around him, and you could see him blurred kind of in the background, but you see the deer, and the deer is like staggering at like 20 yards away. It didn't even go far. It's like staggering, and then just goes down. You see him going like this, like in the camera frame. He's like, yeah. I backed up the camera. He's like, yeah. He was shaking so bad. It was the coolest moment. And I'll never forget it because it was just such a good, like everything about it was one of those picture perfect hunting moments for a bow hunter. The
Yeah.
deer came in, we saw the deer, the deer had no idea we were there. The shot was close, easy shot. He used a swacker. I mean, it hit that thing in the shoulder area and just opened up and went right through it like butter, just and that kind of see like those are important moments because they're gold for the business, and they're also gold for us. It's just
Yeah.
people that are hunting, because when you capture stuff like that on video, you're like, wow, that really came together. I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, so that was a great experience as
That's cool,
well.
man. I told you I'm relatively new hunter, and I've only been whitetail hunting once. If you look over my shoulder, you can see my South Texas whitetail with a shotgun of all damn things with buckshot. But I'm still hoping out or holding out for that first archery whitetail kill, man. And like hearing stories like yours where it's just like shaking, fist pumping. I can't wait. And hopefully this coming hunting season to be 2024. I have a buddy in Kansas. I put in for a draw because it's out of staters. It's a draw there, and didn't get it. But hopefully next year I'll finally have the opportunity to have a little whitetail archery story of my own.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this next one's a little bit uh it's a good experience, but it was kind of a weird experience, kind of a creepy one. So we had gone to the same state land we talked about in the first story, and I was with my cousin, and he had just bought. What bow was this he shot? Because I remember it was like a bow thing, and I think he missed, and then so he just bought the Switchback from Matthews, which is one of the most popular bows they ever made, and he was in this tree stand, the same state land that we were talking about earlier. He was in a different stand though this time, a little bit closer to the road that we started on, and I was in the same stand actually that I saw him shoot that deer out of. Well, he's in this other stand, and a deer. This is the first year. I don't know what the year was, but it was like the first year you could do a combo in Michigan.
Yeah.
So it meant like you could shoot a deer and you could shoot another deer if they met a criteria. So he shoots this buck that comes in, a smaller buck, and it runs away. 5 minutes later, another buck comes in, and it's bigger and it's shootable. He shoots that buck. So he's got 2 bucks. And I'm like, and so he calls me. He's like, dude, I got two. I don't know. 2 of them came in. And this is, again, state land. Well, we only go like once a year. The odds are we're not going back to that spot again. So he's like, I'm just closing out my year right here.
Yeah.
So this is also what makes Michigan kind of suck for hunting, to be honest, is this 2 buck, you could do 2 bucks. It's a bad idea, honestly. But either way, this was in the beginning of it. We don't do that now either way, unless it's a monster, it'd have to be like unbelievable. But whatever, to each his own. So he shoots this deer, right? Okay. So we find the first deer, no problem. Like it's like 15 yards away, piled up fast. We drag it out. We go back for the second one, not so easy. It gets like pitch black out. So we're like, okay.
Excuse me. Do you drag it out the hole? You said a mile and a half?
Yeah. It sucked.
Damn.
No four wheelers. You can't use any machines. Nope. It's all illegal to take a machine, anything back there.
So I'm more familiar with like Western big game. You wouldn't, break that thing down and throw it in the packs. You just drag it.
uh, the breakdown method is not something that's done in Michigan.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I mean, not that
sounds like
I'm
it does suck
against
a little bit.
I've actually never heard of the breakdown method until I got more into years later of BowHunter Planet stuff, and like, oh, okay, we pack out, okay, and I start learning about Badlands. I'm good friends with Badlands. All the guys are like, oh yeah, we have packs that do that. That's what it's made for. So yeah, good idea though. I understand how it makes sense. The thing is, a lot of us would take it and you just take it right to a butcher, and the butcher takes it from there, like as a whole.
Gotcha.
You just gut it basically. But nowadays we don't do that. We have 4 wheelers. We just drag them right out. Now we're on private land. It's easy. You don't have to take a truck right up to the edge and just throw it in the back of the truck quick.
Gotcha.
And just drop it off. So we still don't really have to pack out. But back then we didn't know anything about packing out, even though it's a great idea.
All right.
We always had a heart attack. Got the one out. We go tell our friends who live in the area, like, hey, we got a deer. So they all show up to help, and they come in, and God, these are bringing back some weird memories, man. I'm starting to remember other stuff now too. Holy cow! So
there we go.
We find the blood trail. We start walking it, and we get to the edge of this huge field, and we flash the light across the field, and you see deer eyes, and we're like, "What the hell, man? Like, that can't be the deer." We're thinking like that can't be the deer. Then looking back, I'm like, well, that's pretty stupid, because what else would it be, right? I mean, think about it. It's like, why would there be a deer there and the blood's going that direction, right? So we follow the blood all the way to where the eyes were. We get to this edge, and it's like another little. So we're to the edge of that other field now. This is far. This is like 500 yards. We get to the edge of the other field, and there's a little valley, just a little valley in there, and we're looking. We see the blood going into the valley. So we have a guy on his hands and knees, like looking for this blood. And he looks up, and the deer's right there, like 10 yards away from him. And it gets up, and it's going, rah. This one dude in the group pulls out a 9mm and drops a whole magazine on this deer.
A whole magazine.
This is at midnight in the state of Michigan State Forest, pitch black. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? We're all diving to the ground. And I'm like, you can't I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, I'm out of here, dude. This is crazy. Like, you can't shoot a gun in the pitch. Like, I don't even know if it's self-defense. I mean, I understand it looked like it was really going to gore the guy. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, there's a guy in the ground. You could have shot that guy, Like, what the frick are you doing, man?
Yeah,
So
Jesus.
we leave.
And
My
the whole
cousin's like, that's it.
magazine, like 1, 2
No,
maybe,
like
but like
16 shots of a 9mm
Jesus,
Glock.
6.
So
Good God.
I'm telling you, it
Okay.
was the craziest shit. Like it was like do flashes going everywhere. I just hit the ground. I felt like I was at World War II or something, I'm like, what's
God.
going on? So my cousin's like, that's it, we're out of here. He was so pissed. He's like, what are you doing? And we're out of here. So we leave. And the next day we come back. That deer is literally 5 yards from where it jumped up, and he didn't hit it one time.
No.
And so later in my life, like in the past, like 4 years, I've really gotten into guns a lot. Like we own Gun Hunter Planet too. We don't do a lot with it, but we do own it. So I started getting into guns a lot. And actually, Sig Sauer sponsored us last year. It was pretty cool. And so I've learned to shoot really good, like with pistols. And it's not easy to shoot like
Yeah.
distance. It's not like him thinking he could actually hit that deer without really aiming slowly and accordingly. It would be pretty hard to do.
How
I tell
far was
people
the
that all the time,
shooter from the deer?
20 yards.
Okay. And there was a guy halfway in between?
Correct. On the
Oh my
ground, laying
God.
because he was looking for the blood. I mean, I think he dove back or whatever, but either way, it was stupid. Like I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Um,
I bet you never hunted with that guy again.
no, no.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even talk to those people anymore ever again because I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that's so messed up in so
That's
many
too
ways.
messed up. Yeah.
I can't
Especially at
associate
that
with you.
point, you're what, 2 miles into the woods? Like if you hit somebody, that's a death sentence basically.
You're
Ugh.
right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yes, if there was an accident, it would have been bad.
No.
Anyway, yes, that was crazy. That same area, I'm like moving around the map in my mind. So the same area. If I move over to where I shot my first buck when I was younger, my first buck, I was sitting in that same area I started in here for the first story, but back a little ways further, like let's say 30 yards further back or 50. I was 30 feet up in a tree, way too high, like way up there, dude. I don't know what we were thinking. We were young and dumb. And so I'm up in this tree. This deer comes in. You could bait back then. So we had bait. So I bait down. This buck comes in, starts eating the bait. And I never shot a deer. This is like my first time. It's like 2000, 2001 or 2000. I can't remember the year right in there. And
Yeah.
I'm
You
like,
bring in like corn or like some apples or what are you baiting with?
this would have been corn or carrots, the easiest thing to
Okay.
get in there generally. Corn would probably be the easiest now I think about it. But either way, so it's definitely corn, carrots, or sugar beets is one of the three.
Okay.
Um, so he's eating it. I draw my bow back and I'm like, first off, I can't believe I'm about to get a shot. I'm shaking, I'm like going, my body's just going crazy. And I shoot him. I hit him high, but in the lung. And at the time I was shooting like XX78s, super slams, and I had like a Muzzy on there with that Viper, the Dart and Viper. It runs behind me and takes off, right? So
Yeah.
I have no idea what this deer is. I've never tracked a deer really, my own deer, at least to this point. And so a lot of those same guys we talked about in the last story came to help look for my deer, but this is like years before, right? This is like way before that other thing happened. So we're going, it's like pitch black, at this point. It's a night hunt. And so I leave with them, give it some time. They come back and we all go back and then we go in there to look for it. I'm like, man, I really hope I get this in my first year. So we start going back there and you could hear like coyotes howling everywhere. It was like
Yeah.
the scariest scenario. And like we get like just past my stand, like 40 yards past it, and you could see eyes of coyotes like circling us. It was crazy. I'm like, what do we do? He goes, we're just gonna man up and keep going. Like there's six of us, I mean, they're not gonna do anything. There's six of us,
Yeah.
So
How
we
old were
get
you
to
at this time, roughly?
18, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
Okay.
18. I just graduated high school in 99, so somewhere in there. So I get there, we find the deer and it's got some chew marks on its legs, but we got to it, thank God, and then we got it out of there. But yeah, they took off after a little while, of us being there. I think they got scared. Oh, they probably
Yeah.
came back for the guts though, because we decided to leave the guts there to keep them occupied while we got the hell out of it.
I'm sure, man. I'm
But
sure,
that's
man. I
gonna
was
right
actually
here.
just hunting with one of my former guests, Steel Turner, and he was saying as far as coyotes, he does a lot of thermal hunting in Texas, and he puts out his little wounded rabbit noisemaker out there, and he says he watches these coyotes, man. They're crafty, where they'll come in and they'll completely circle the noisemaker like 2 or 3 times, and he just watches these animals
Looking
just
for
like
issues,
completely
yeah.
just looking for issues, building a strategy. They are surprisingly smart. People don't give them credit for, because they're little killers, is what they are.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm a firm believer in the hierarchy. I really I like the idea that they're there. I like the idea wolves are there. I really believe in the natural hierarchy. So like if it's
Yeah.
I don't just shoot anything. Like that's the other thing about me that's different than some. Like, I will not shoot a coyote if I'm not going to eat a coyote. So I don't shoot coyotes. So it's just me. It's just something I live by because I don't believe in wasting animals or meat. But I get it. I know why people do it. It's not something I would do. So like
Yeah.
I had one guy he told me, he's like, "Oh, I shot this porcupine." I'm like, "Why? Why did you shoot the porcupine?" I'm like, "What? Why?" Like you're gonna use the hide or oh no, I just kicked it to the side. I'm like, then what's the point? I've never
Yeah.
seen a porcupine. Like I would have loved to have seen that porcupine in the field, or an
Yeah.
otter or something cool. Like there's no reason just to kill something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me again. Everybody has the
Yeah.
rules are different. You can do what you
No,
want based.
I prefer to eat what I harvest as well. I can't think I've killed anything except for maybe I'm not much of a duck hunter, but a coot. I've killed a coot that I wasn't able to retrieve, and people scared me out of eating that thing. But that's about it. I did see a porcupine one time in the woods. Now that you mentioned it, and I was with a buddy of mine, and it was the
You
funniest
smoked
thing.
it?
No, we just saw it, and he's like, "Oh man, watch out! It'll shoot your quills at you." And I'm like, "Man, you've seen too many cartoons.
Yeah.
like unless you're gonna go up and sniff that thing, you don't have to worry about those quills." But
The only ones that creep me out really are the raccoons, and it's not that I don't want to shoot them, but like they do scare me because I feel like they can climb my tree. They could literally make me fall out of my tree if they start messing with me in the tree, which is creepy.
yeah,
For the little stuff, I mean. And squirrels don't really mess with you, but they do come check you out, which is weird sometimes. But and they make
yeah,
that stupid loud alarm sound.
yep, and throw nuts at you if you're in their area. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to a little bit later years. So 2015, we had a Canadian bear hunt. And this one, wow, man, this was an experience. So so first off, this is like the pinnacle time frame for BowHunter Planet. At this point, we're at 2015. We have worked with Matthews, Hoyt, you name it. All the big brands have worked with BowHunter Planet. They all knew us. They all respected us. We have them on. I could have them all on speed dial even today, of course. But back then, I had them at that point. So I'm like, this is it, man. And so we really spread out the bows. I was hunting with a Hoyt. I think a couple of guys were bear archery stuff. Some guys were darting, some guys with Matthews. So it was cool. We had a huge group of people go. This was going to be one of the most exciting hunts. And we had RVs up there. So basically we drove from Detroit area all the way through Sault Ste. Marie, crossed over from the UP of Michigan into Canada, and then we drove 4 hours north from there. I mean, it was a journey. We got to this city, and it was the middle. I think it was like Whitefish or something white. But anyway, we kind of got settled in, and this is for black bear hunting, and this is in August of 2015. And so we're there, and there's a lot of us. Like I said, there's probably of our group, there's probably 10 or 15 guys of our BHP
Oh wow.
group, and out of the total group, there's about 50. So there's a lot
No
of people,
way.
including Mike Avery was there too, as well, who's an outdoor radio host in Michigan here. He's a great guy, big in the hunting and
50 guys are at this hunting camp.
Yep, it's huge, absolute massive.
Wow.
So I don't know what to expect here. So Kevin, my father-in-law, who's one of the owners of BowHunter Planet as well, he had gone the year before and loved it and said, "Oh, you guys got to go. It's really cool. It's a great experience."
Were there 50 guys that year too?
I don't know. Probably, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, it's part of this outfitter who puts this on, and so anyway, and we're not all like 50 right in that one spot, but they're throughout the city. There's 50 of these total hunters who came in from all over the place to hunt, and they go to this outfitter guy. So there's a lot of stories here. So I'm just because there's a lot of people and we help with a lot of different hunts and stuff. So I'll start with mine just because it's crazy. But how it works is we had I had my machine there. I had a 4-door like Polaris type thing. So we put the bait in the back of the Polaris and we drive 30 miles to the hunt area.
Okay.
So 30 miles in this is all woods too. I'm not talking like 30 miles on a road. I'm talking logging trails, 30 miles.
Yeah. So we go down a good 2 hours.
Yeah. So this is the start of the 30 miles is the start of the hunting area. Put it that way. So that's the base camp basically for Everest. It's like base camp 1.
Yeah.
So we get to that area, then we go out and spread out 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 miles apart, right, all over the place. And so we bait all these spots with this molasses, grandma's molasses, candy bar crap. I don't know. It's like crazy, right? It's like it smells amazing. Like I could eat it. It smells that good. So the first thing that happens is nothing happens there. We bait all these spots the first day. We get back to the camp and we're in the RV. We're all hanging out, having some beers, talking about, oh, tomorrow's. You don't hunt mornings there. You only hunt nights because it's too dangerous, apparently. So we're like going in to sleep and I hear someone yelling. And I'm like, what's going on? So we all run outside. Everybody's grabbing their guns and stuff. Everybody runs outside. And there's a bear in the back of my Polaris licking the bait stuff. We're like, shoo, bear, shoo. This big black bear jumps down and runs away. And we all go back in, and then I hear yelling again. So we go back out there, and apparently the bear came back and was in the back of it again. And this guy yelled at, and this time it charged him, and he like
No
fell
way.
over. He's screaming. And so the bear ran away. Then we went back to bed, and then we heard screaming again. And I looked out the window, and I could see this black mass like moving through towards the woods. Apparently, the last thing that happened is there was a guy in a tent, and the bear went up and sniffed the tent, and then it took its claw and just broke one of the ends of the tent. The whole thing collapsed, and he started screaming.
This bear's a troll, man.
I was in
Oh
like a
my
hard
God.
shell RV. I was good to go. I wasn't scared. So that happens the first day. So we're all like kind of like, whoa, what is going on here? There's like bears in the camp. Like what is this? Like I thought this is like
Can you
30
not
miles
shoot
away.
at nighttime, and that's why I assume this bear got a free pass that night?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know the
Okay.
rules. I just know that they yeah, I don't know actually. That's a great question. I don't know. But yeah, so that happened. So the next day we go hunting. So the first hunt, I think this is my first hunt. Yeah. So they drop me off. So we split up. I go with this Bob guy. Bob drops me off at 3 miles from him. So he drops me off and he keeps going. And he goes 3 miles. And I go to my stand. They're like, it's straight in. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Straight in. I go in. And it's interesting landscape in Canada, northern Canada. I don't know if that's actually called northern Canada, but for me, northern Canada. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of moss. So when you're stepping, you step on pillows. So it really feels like you're stepping on
Yeah.
pillows the whole way. And it's this green, cool sage and moss. And it's really, really cool backdrops and beautiful, beautiful landscape. Like that moss, like hanging off stuff. Not the kind that you get in Florida or somewhere where it gets in your eyes and it's itchy. With this is like
Yeah.
like really good stuff. So anyway, I get into this tree stand. I'm sitting there. I got my bear mace. I got my bow. There's no gun allowed because I'm American and I can't bring a handgun with me. So I have no gun. I have a bow, can of mace, 5 arrows total, and that's it. No communication. No phones work. No radios work. Nothing worked. Nothing.
Jeez. Okay.
So here I am. I'm like, okay. I put these GoPros out because, of course, I'm filming for this stuff, and I'm like, all right. I put out GoPros in a full circle of the area. So I got them on a remote control, full circle, 5 of them. It's actually pretty incredible footage because I have so many cameras. So I'm sitting there, and first thing happens, I'm there maybe 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And I look up and there's a bear staring at me at the edge of the bait, if the bait is like here, I'm here, the bait's here. This is about 25 yards.
Okay.
20 yards, we'll call it. And then the bear is right here at the edge of this, like looking at the bait at 10 yards from the bait pile.
Are you elevated, or is this like
I'm
a ground
elevated.
blind?
Yeah. I'm in
Okay.
it's like a wood stand that was built into the tree, like a huge platform. It's probably like 4x4.
Gotcha.
Nice platform with rails on the backside so you can't fall back.
Okay.
So I see it and I'm like, okay, here we go, and he's like drooling, scariest thing, flies all around his face. Like, I'm like, what? I don't know about this, but I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll stick this bear. I ain't worried about it. So this bear comes into the barrel. There's a barrel you put the bait in, and his back is below the middle line. So that's an indicator he's not big enough to shoot, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not shooting this one. I'm just going to watch him eat, whatever. So he does this thing. First thing he does, knock the barrel over. So there goes my line, right? There goes my judgment line. I'm like, thanks, dude. Great, wonderful. Didn't think of this, right? When I was sitting there, like they need to put a pole on the ground or something, right? So like, you know what I mean? Like, so So anyway, he's eating, does his thing. No big deal. And then maybe like 20 minutes goes by and I hear crashing to my left. Maybe an hour. I don't know how long it was, but crashing to my left. And I look over and I see a black mass running through the woods, charging the bait pile. And I see him get out of the bucket area and start running. And I'm like, oh damn, here we go. Big Daddy came in. So I get my bow out. I draw my bow. This bear is pissed, man. It's like looking for that bear. It's like aggressive. Like, I mean, it's like full, like puffed up and all this stuff. And I'm like, no way. So I get my bow out. I had this white carbon bow at the time. It might be the carbon RX5. It was awesome. Awesome bow.
Yeah.
So I draw this bow back and I'm like set in. It's at 25 yards. I don't know how I figured that out, but somehow I knew it was 25 yards. And just absolutely smoke this bear. It was like just right through it.
Was this bear just obviously bigger than the little one that just ran off, so you knew it was a shooter right off the bat?
We'll get to that part in a minute.
All right, sorry. I sometimes I ruin stories by asking questions. Keep going.
So I'm like, smoke this bear, quartering away, just boom, right to the pumper. I hear it go, I hear it crash, I hear it groaning, and then I hear the other bear comes back, and it's like fight. It's like I don't know if it's fighting it and it's dead. I don't know what's happening. It's like growling and running and all this stuff. And next thing I know, that other bear comes back, and he starts eating again. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a weird scenario because I have a bear down. I don't know if that bear is going to eat the other bear or what's going to happen with the dead bear. I know that he's in my set and I don't know, I can't go anywhere because there's nobody here behind me. There's no like, I can't call. It's getting darker. It's going to keep getting darker, right? Creeping me out. So then this bear, he's like doing the weirdest stuff and he's like itching his legs, like sitting on his butt. It's just the funniest looking scenes. You know, you're like, what is this thing doing? And all of a sudden, like literally all of a sudden, it was like some out of horror movie. It's like itching its legs, all of a sudden it stops and it looks up and it's staring at this tree that I have a GoPro on. Like it's looking right at it. And all of a sudden it just walks over to it and starts sniffing it and licking it. Like, and I got this all on video. It's licking and sniffing this. And it drops down to the ground with its head down. I swear to God, follows my foot trail right to my tree.
No way.
From 20 yards out, he sniffed that GoPro, dropped the ground, and just sniffed like a dog would sniff a rabbit trail all the way to my tree. And he's looking up at me and he's putting his claws on the tree. And I'm like, what the F is going on right now? Right? What just happened? It was like everything was fine. You know, I'm watching this bear eat, and all of a sudden now he's on my tree about to climb up and kill me. So I grabbed the bear mace, I popped the tab off, and I put it over. There's a rail, so it's not easy to like aim. So I got this rail and I'm aiming over the rail. I'm like, and I start saying to him, don't do it. Like, don't do it.
Don't do it, buddy.
I don't want to spray this dude because I'm thinking in my head, like, this can get my eyes. I'm in the middle of nowhere. If this gets in my eyes, I'm blinded. So if
finding the bear that you put down would be impossible. Yeah. God.
I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, my heart is pounding. Like, I'm like, what is going to happen here? And then it sets back down, starts sniffing, walks out in front of me and is looking at me like 15 yards out, like in front of me, like looks back and just staring at me. And I'm like, get out of here. Leave. I'm throwing the bird. I'm like, get out of here. And he just starts eating again. He didn't give a shit. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, like I might have to defend my life here. So I get another arrow out. I didn't have like another arrow out. You know, I killed a bear. I'm like, I can't shoot another one. It's illegal. But I'm like, I'll shoot another one if it's going to kill me. I ain't going to let no bear kill me. So I get another arrow out. I'm thinking like, God dang, this is why I need a gun. Like, well, this is crazy. So I'm sitting there and that thing's like keeps looking at me and doesn't know what it wants to do. And I'm thinking, oh God. And then more bears start coming in. I'm getting real nervous. I'm like, I don't know. This is crazy. So finally the bear would leave. He started leaving and then he would come back. Like, so he'd be gone for 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden you see him again at the edge of the field, come back in to eat. Kept doing this over and over. And then finally, as it was getting darker, you know, I dropped the bear mace basically. Like it was on the platform and something happened and I kicked it and it fell off. And I thought, I am screwed. Of course. I am screwed. So finally, I don't know why I made this decision to get out of there. I was like, that's it. I'm going to hike the 3 miles out and get back to the truck. So I back out. I wait for him to leave again. And I back down the tree as fast as I can, grab the mace. I'm only like literally 15 yards from the road. So I backed literally off into the road. And I start going like right away, just start going the direction I knew that Bob went. Stupid idea. I get about halfway, like, so I'm already a mile into this walk. And I'm like, this is really stupid. Like, it's dusk. There's wolves out here. There's moose out here, and there's more bear. And I'm on the ground. Like, I have no
Yeah.
advantage here at all.
Or the
Like,
the road splits and you don't know which way he
oh, I
went.
didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Thank God that didn't happen. You're right.
Yeah.
Uh, I, and you're right, because I would have never been able to find where I went in either. Do you know what I mean? Like where I
Yeah.
came out. I knew I was going the right direction, but if I had to go back, I wouldn't have found the tree stands. My point. I would have had to stay on that road, period. So anyway, I did find the truck. It took me 3 miles of walking, and the door was open, which was surprising. So I got in, but there was obviously no key, so I couldn't open the window for air, And the bugs, dude, they were hitting that window like trying to get to me. Like they were hitting the window and just like like just like
Yeah.
this constant just smashing the window trying to
Just
get
a
to me.
wave of bugs.
Bugs.
Disgusting.
It was
Was it
disgusting.
bad when you were in your stand
No,
or
no, I didn't
huh?
notice anything. And then it was just right when I was on the ground in that sunny area.
Huh.
Um,
Maybe there's some
so anyways,
moisture there or
Bob
something.
starts coming down. I'm waiting for him. It's like dark. It's getting dark. I see him walking down the road, and I'm like, you guys are effing nuts. Never doing this again. He's not laughing at me. I'm like, because they're like a bunch of older guys, they're laughing at me. I'm like, dude, I go, this is crazy, Bob. Like, literally, I thought I was going to die out there. He's like, oh, you're such a pansy. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So anyway, that happened. And then, so we ended up going back. So I with a lot of guys, because I was like, I'm not going out there unless it's with like 15 guys, like those bears are everywhere out there and it's crazy, right? So we all go back as a big group looking for this bear, flashlights everywhere. Actually, I got some really cool footage of this because one of our camera guys that came was using a DSLR and he was filming this recovery. And man, the footage looks so cool. It's like some of a movie the way he filmed it. It looks so amazing. But Jamie finds it and he goes, hey, did someone shoot a black lab over here? I got a dog down. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, here's your little puppy. And it was literally like a 70-pound bear. I'm like, really? I'm like, oh my God, it looks so big. He goes, well, it was puffed up, man. It came in to fight. Of course, it can be puffed up. I'm like, well, it's not my fault the barrel got knocked over. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like first time I've been out here. So I had to wear this stupid hat the rest of the hunt because I had to wear this little bear hat, cub hat, they called it or something. Smallest bear of the pack hat. But
Oh, that's too fun. I'm glad that they have that tradition, though.
oh, it's
Which
so funny.
should make you feel better because that means it happens to other folks as well. It's not just you that's
Yeah, no, yeah.
shooting black labs.
Later that night though, like this is what I'm saying, this is so crazy. So a couple of quick stories from that experience. Like, so this other guy shoots a bear, hits it. The bear was on its hind legs. He hits it in the brisket with a ram cat with a crossbow. The thing takes off and it's like gone, dude. It takes off like gone. So we all go out to help him look for it at night. So we're walking through this forest at night and there's bear dens everywhere. The thing fell off a ravine, so it ran full speed. Like I'm talking 100 yards out. Then it hit a ravine and fell off the ravine, which was like a 60-yard incline ravine.
No
Like
way.
it just fell
Jeez.
off a mountain basically. And it
Yeah.
was laying dead at the bottom of the ravine. So we had to like cut a tree down to put it to the tree, strap it to the tree, and then carry it out. One guy fell over in exhaustion. Like we had to like help him, like EMS type help. I mean, the guys there were firemen, they're EMS guys, some of them, so they knew what to do, but they had to
Yeah.
like take your jacket off, take your shirt off, cool down. He was like overheated from doing all the work. Oh my God, dude.
Gosh,
And
man.
the last thing that happened, well, two things. The one of the things happened. So then the second night, so after this, I was done, right? I wasn't going back in those woods unless it was with a group to help people. I was like, I'm good, man. This is crazy
Yeah.
crap. I'm good for now. I think I've had my share. And to be honest with you, not having like a shotgun or anything to protect myself is a huge difference, right? Like when I go hunting, I do black bear hunting in Michigan and I carry a shotgun with me, like a shockwave, one of those type of shotguns, dude. Or my handgun, I was carrying a freaking
Yeah.
10 millimeter with 16 rounds or something. I'm good. Like I'm not scared at all. But not that you can't get mauled, you can, but I just feel better about it, right? I have something to protect myself. Anyway, so we're going into the camper. I go into the camper and I hear John behind me, my buddy, and he's talking. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Is he talking to me? And then I hear him scream and I go out there, I go, what just happened? He goes, well, I didn't know you went in the camper. And I heard all this shuffling to the left, and there was a bear trying to get into our our cooler. like, like what an idiot bear. You can't get no Yeti cooler, you moron. But I was like, still, it was so funny. He thought there was literally a bear with its butt sticking out under the camper, like shaking, trying to get into this cooler. It's so,
Gosh,
dude.
man, that's amazing. You know, after you told all the stories, I understand why there were 50 guys in camp, because it sounds like there's plenty of bears to go around.
There were
I
so
was
many
thinking,
bears.
just no way there's enough bears for that many hunters, but it doesn't sound like it was any
Each
kind of
guy
issue at
that
all.
hunted, some guys didn't just shoot anything either. So keep that in mind. They were waiting for giants. But every guy hunted saw 3 to 5 bear during the hunts.
Wow.
There's
What do you
that
think was the biggest bear that came out of that camp?
350.
Woo.
There was a giant. I
Yeah.
think Mike Avery shot it actually, but there was we had it's cool though, because you take the bear to a weight scale area, they weigh it, they mark it. There's all those guys are there, the 50 guys, like everybody's at this one spot where all the bears come in, the meat area, you know, they hang these, they freeze it for you and everything. It's awesome. They freeze it in your cooler into like a commercial grade freezer, so it's super iced up when you leave. And we drove home with put it in the Yeti, froze it. We had 4 bears to come home, froze them in Yetis, and then we drove home with them on an open bed trailer, and they never thawed at all. That
Wow.
12, 14 hours or whatever,
That's
solid
crazy,
ice
man.
still. Yeah.
That's a fun story, man. I've been invited to go on my first black bear hunt in April. And I'm trying not to. I'm trying to build up the courage to go. That your stories didn't necessarily help.
No, it's kind of creepy. But you know, Kevin's been on about 10 of them, and he's killed bears
Yeah.
every year. He, you know, I think it's just a matter of feeling confident and having what you need. And
Yeah.
he doesn't always hunt alone either, though. You know, you can
Yeah.
hunt with somebody who's a camera guy. It still helps if you have one more person.
I agree. And I'm not going to be going to Canada. I'll be going to Idaho, so I'll be able to bring a pistol with me, which makes it a lot better. But yeah,
Just don't
my
go in the
buddy,
dark.
right? My buddy Eric Boone, he's episode 66. I had him on the podcast, and he had just the craziest. All of his stories are predator stories. He got attacked by a cougar because he stepped over its cubs one time, and he turned around, had his pistol out, and the nose of the cat was like 4 inches from the end of his barrel, but the cubs meowed off, so the mom turned around and ran off after them. Another one, like you said, a bear came charging in, didn't know he was in the tree, ran up the tree above him, and then pissed on him. So if anyone listening wants to hear a great episode 66 of the Hunting Stories podcast with Eric Boone, this guy told all these stories, and then he invited me hunting, and then I was like, man, I'm in. And then I hung up, and I was like, wait a minute. All of his stories were absolutely terrifying. I don't want to go hunting with this guy, but I think that's just the nature of it. I think that's what makes them good stories. So I'll definitely be joining him. But Dave, man, this was a lot of fun. It was rapid fire, but it was a good change of pace from like the big stories. And that bear camp sounds fantastic, man. But let's wrap this thing up. I know we have a hard stop. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you, and then we'll get on with our days, man.
Yeah. You guys can check out bowhunterplanet.com for all of our links to everything and a whole bunch of content in regards to archery, hunting, and stories. Not these type of stories, but stories as in companies telling us what is going on with their new brand. So that's always fun too, to hear from them directly on the stuff they're doing. So appreciate you having me on, and look forward to seeing you on Carbon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you again for joining. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day, brother.
You too. Thanks, man.
All right, guys. That's it. Another couple stories in the books. I want to thank Dave, of course, for coming on the podcast. Could not have done it without him. Make sure you give him a follow on the social media stuff. Check him out on Carbon TV. I've got the links to everything in the show notes. And while you're there, check us out on Instagram, Carbon TV, whether you're listening to Spotify, Apple, whatever it might be. Give us a review. We'd very much appreciate that. Helps other people find us and get in touch with us to hear some more amazing hunting stories. Or if you have some amazing hunting stories, why not? Reach out to us. I'd love when my listeners reach out. They're my favorite stories to actually listen to. But that's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Now, get out there and make some stories of your own.